My name is Ajino Akari, and I am from Sapele in Delta State, Nigeria. For 9 years of my life, I lived inside a world that trained people to enter homes quietly, without noise, without fear, and without resistance. Many people think spiritual attacks are always loud, dramatic, and obvious, but my assignment was the opposite. I was trained in what we called domestic invasion, and the most effective place for that invasion was always the kitchen. While others focused on dreams, sickness, finances, or nighttime oppression, my work happened in normal routines, in daylight, in places where families felt safest. The kitchen is not just a room, it is the heart of the home. It is where the day often begins, where food is prepared, where children wander in freely, and where conversations flow naturally. It is where nourishment enters the body and becomes strength, energy, and life. In many African homes, the kitchen carries deep meaning. Traditions live there. Recipes are passed down from mothers to daughters. Comfort is found there, even in times of hardship. Because of this importance, the enemy pays very close attention to the kitchen. What enters the kitchen eventually enters the body, and what enters the body can influence the entire household. During my training, the high priestess said something that stayed with me for years. She said, if you can contaminate a family's kitchen, you can contaminate their bloodline. At the time, those words made me feel powerful. Now they fill me with shame. What she meant was simple. Once something enters a person through food or drink, it is much harder to remove than an external attack. People can close doors they can see, but doors they do not know exist remain open no matter how much they pray against the effects. My assignment was to make sure certain items entered Christian homes through their kitchens. Not strange items, not objects that looked evil, ordinary things, gifts, food, utensils, containers, water. Items that would be accepted with gratitude and stored without prayer. We relied on trust, politeness, culture, and habit. We understood that many Christians were careful about bedrooms, prayer rooms, and obvious spiritual symbols. They prayed over their sleep, their dreams, and their finances, but the kitchen felt familiar, safe, and harmless. That assumption became our greatest advantage. Over those 9 years, I helped establish access points in many homes, including pastors' homes, deacons' homes, and prayer warriors' homes. These were not weak believers. They prayed daily, fasted regularly, and served God sincerely. But they were fighting visible battles while the real doorway remained untouched. Darkness thrives when people focus on symptoms and ignore access. The first major doorway we used was gifted food items, cooking oil, rice, salt, sugar, flour, spices, drinks, and snacks given as gifts. I am not saying every gift is evil. Kindness exists and generosity matters. But I am telling you the truth. Gifts were one of our most effective tools because people rarely pray over them. A gift is often assumed to be safe simply because it was given kindly. I remember a family in Wari, the Akari family. The husband was an assistant pastor and his wife was known as a strong intercessor. Their home looked spiritually solid from the outside. But Sister Akari never refused food gifts. She believed rejecting gifts was rude and unloving. That belief became a blind spot. An agent befriended her and eventually brought cooking oil that had been dedicated before entering the home. Sister Akari accepted it and stored it without prayer. Within weeks, peace left the house. The husband felt blocked in prayer. The children became restless and irritable. The family prayed harder, fasted more, and invited others to pray with them, but the pressure kept returning. Years later, when they moved and left some pantry items behind, the atmosphere in their lives improved. They never knew why, but I did. The doorway had been left behind.
I also saw families where this strategy failed completely because one person had a simple habit of praying over everything. In Benin City, I observed a woman who prayed over every item before storing it, whether it was bought or gifted. Each time an agent tried to introduce something compromised, her prayers broke the assignment. Eventually, her family was removed from the target list. Consistent prayer closed the door. The second doorway we used was kitchen utensils and containers with history. Items inherited from relatives, passed down through generations, or bought secondhand. In that world, we believed objects could carry spiritual baggage, especially items used daily. Some doorways existed long before I arrived. I observed a woman near Sapele known as Mama Titi. She was respected as a godly woman who prayed faithfully and lived uprightly. Yet her family struggled with repeated limitations. In her kitchen was a large wooden mortar inherited through marriage. It was old, beautiful, and treasured. Unknown to her, it had been dedicated decades earlier. For 40 years it sat quietly in her kitchen, maintaining access. She prayed faithfully, but never suspected the object. She died without knowing, and her children inherited it. Another woman, Sister Rosemary, experienced repeating cycles of disaster despite years of prayer and deliverance. The source was a set of plates passed down for generations. They were sentimental and beautiful. When those plates were stolen during a burglary, the cycle stopped. Peace followed. She never knew why, but the doorway was gone. This is not about superstition, it is about discernment. Items with history should be prayed over and consecrated. If you feel uneasy about something, do not ignore that feeling. Ask God for clarity. Some items can be cleansed through prayer. Some, if strongly convicted, should be removed completely rather than passed on. The third doorway was water and beverages. Water was considered powerful because it enters the body quickly. Sometimes access came through a shared water jug or source that everyone trusted. Once it became routine, the person consumed it repeatedly without thinking. I observed families who prayed passionately yet struggled because their water source was never covered. I also observed an elderly man who prayed over every drink consistently, wherever he was. Attempts against him failed. His consistency created protection and peace. Now I want to speak directly to you. Your kitchen does not have to be a vulnerability. It can be a place of peace and protection. Wisdom is spiritual warfare. Praying over your food is spiritual warfare. Blessing your water is spiritual warfare. Teaching your children to pray before eating is spiritual warfare. This is not fear, it is discipline. From today, pray over food gifts before storing them. Consecrate kitchen items with history. Begin blessing your water and drinks consistently. Be mindful of who has access to your kitchen. Pay attention to patterns in your home. Ask God for discernment. Small habits practiced consistently can close doors that have been open for years. I share this not to glorify darkness, but to expose it. I lived in it, learned its strategies, and God brought me out so others could be protected. My name is Ajino Akari. I spent 9 years learning how homes were quietly invaded, and now I speak so homes can be quietly protected. May your kitchen be filled with peace, and may what feeds your family bring life, strength, and rest.